expect to come home and sleep for like a day.
Absolutely. And even as an extrovert, talking takes something out of you. Hey, it's Brett Chittum with Lawrence Systems, and I'm here with.
Jason Segal from CNWR. You pointed the right way today.
I
don't have any
I
coffee
I
yet.
did underneath actually, and then I didn't point the right way. And this is business technicalities. This is your topic today because unlocking the
Yeah.
secret of conferences as an introvert. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, I'm an introvert. No one here will believe that. No, not a single person will
I don't
believe it.
believe
But
it.
I am 100%. I'm on the line. I'm like an extroverted introvert. I'm actually Myers-Briggs. I'm an INTP. Uh, but it requires energy for me to socialize. Now, I do this
Mm,
just fine. I'll do this all day, and I talk online fine. And if I meet people that I know from online, I tend to do okay. But if you put me in a room at a conference I've never been to with people I don't know, I don't talk to anybody.
really?
So we should discuss that. Yeah, Rite of Booms this week. I leave tomorrow morning to go down to Dallas for Rite of Booms. So I figured this would be a very good topic to talk about. Do you go to conferences if you're an introvert? Like, what do you do? What are some strategies that you can use to navigate that? I promise, suggest more than just alcohol. Uh, but yeah, let's talk about it, Mr. Extrovert.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I tend so I introvert in some situations, but it's very rare. I just, when I go into a room, I look at who's going to be the most friendliest to talk to. And that
Mhm.
might be a way to break as an introvert, because, looking for that face that's, somebody that don't know, but they look like they might say hi or they might start
Yep.
on some small talk. I think once you start as an introvert, once you start communicating, it then opens you up a little bit more. I mean,
Yeah, it can depend.
yeah, I am. So how, when you think about it, because I went to a lot of conferences with you, Tom, and stuff last year,
Hmm.
and it's funny how I see when you're at a conference, people surround you, and they do that to Tom as well. They surround you guys, want to talk and everything. These are people you're going to Ride a Boom, which is a place that a lot of people know you. Um, so those people that are introverts, what should they do when they go to a conference? I mean, what conference should they pick, or what types of conferences?
Yeah. So, I mean, from my perspective, there's like a couple of main types of conferences that I'm going to
Hmm.
call out, and some kind of try to cross the line. Some do it more successfully than others. The first kind is what I'm going to call the like vendor driven conferences, right?
Yeah,
So you've got your IT Nation Connect, your DattoCon, whatever Kaseya's Connect IT, I think it's called. But
right,
even ones like Zero Trust World, right? Like these are conferences that are largely driven by a single presenting vendor.
right,
My personal experience is that the target audience of those conferences is business owners and less technical people.
hmm,
And as such, you tend to get more sales presence, you tend to get more extroverted people in general,
yeah,
and you tend to get less technical content. Those are probably a little bit tougher if you are, especially if you're a technical or you're a relatively introverted person. People are not introverted at those shows, so they are
no,
going to talk to you, and you might struggle a bit with that. The second type of conference is like the one I'm going to tomorrow, right? Right, a Boom, I think is
yep,
a good example of this. MSP GeekCon is really aiming to be in the same sort of boat, and then I attend a number of conferences that aren't really in the MSP space. I spoke at Code Mash, which is
yep,
a developer conference in Sandusky, and I did that in January. And those conferences are not driven by a vendor, and they tend to be aiming more towards a technical audience.
right,
And I mean, Code Match, for example, they had I don't have any pictures of it. I should have taken some, but they had a very, very large board game room, and their giant party was like a choose your own adventure giant party. So they had a room where they had acoustic instruments, so you could just pick up instruments and jam with people. They had one with the electric instruments. Then they had a casino carnival room. They had a disco, like they had all sorts of things, so you could kind of choose your own speed. But they also had a giant board game room, and
oh man, was
on
that the most
Thursday night,
represented?
yeah, on Thursday night, this board game room, which This conference is at Kalahari,
Hmm.
but I'm guessing most people that have been to Kalahari here in Sandusky, in Ohio, have not been to the conference center. But the board game room is two pretty good sized salons. They're called. They're like typical hotel conference boardroom kind of things, and these
Right.
are there's two of them, and together they probably hold 700 people. It set up as a
Right.
conference. This had round tables in it, but it was full, right? So there were probably 300-400 people sitting around round tables playing board games, and it spilled out into the hallway,
Yeah.
right? So if you're a little more extroverted, you might find it a little bit easier to attend a conference sort of like that, right? Where you're going to find other probably more introverted people or people
Hmm.
that you share more common interest with. Right? And I think that's one of the biggest first tips I can give is, find people that you share interest with, because it's a little bit
Right.
easier to talk to them. It's a little bit less energy.
Well, Ride a Boom right now is kind of the big kickoff, and I think
Yep.
this is a good lead into this conference season that we're coming into, right? Picking those conferences that have aspects that you're going to want to like, because it's no fun going to a conference where you walk in and you don't know what to do and it's stuff you don't want to be
Mhm.
a part of, right? So
Yeah.
it's interesting, and I still don't believe you're an introvert. I think you can act as an introvert, but I mean, you're definitely an extrovert when in cases that I've seen. You don't have a problem talking with people. There are people that are really introverted. um,
Yeah.
so you talked about this technical aspects of like Rite of Boom and Geek Con. I can't even talk this morning. um, I mean, so how do you know if a conference more technical or not?
I would look at who's putting it on and if they have any agendas or talks posted. If most of the speakers come from sponsors or come from vendors, then it's going to be more of a salesy show, right?
Hmm.
In the target business, the target audience for sure is people that are going to spend money with those vendors.
Right.
So they tend to be a little more salesy,
Yeah.
right? A little less technical.
So
I
you're looking for the people that are talking that are not
Yeah,
necessarily from a company, but maybe like a Calvin or somebody like that that's coming in, or the
yeah.
guys over at like the guys at MSP Geek Con, MSP Geek, those guys are coming in. They are
Hmm.
highly technical dudes. Um,
Yeah. I mean, I
I've
think,
sat in those circles.
yeah, I think like a good portion of the full agenda is posted on for MSP GeekCon, but I believe that probably 30, 40, maybe 50% of the speakers are vendors, but that's some of that is just a side effect of who submits talks, right? Like
Right.
MSP GeekCon did like an open call for papers, and vendors, they're extroverted and they speak a lot, right? So they
Yeah.
tend to submit talks a little more. They went out of their way to try to keep it not sales pitched. So these
Hmm.
are, if there are vendors speaking, they are speaking about more technical topics. But I mean, that kind of leads into another tip that I kind of would give: join a community, right? Like, so one of the
Hmm.
things that drives me, you talked about, like, you see me, social butterflying. My wife makes fun of me. She calls me a social butterfly at these things. And I'm normally not, but I know many of the people I'm talking to because I have built friendships with them
Right.
on the various communities that we have, right? So if you are going to go to a conference and you're super introverted, join a community, try to find people that or respect inside of one of the communities like MSP Geek or MSPs R Us or the Reddit, right? See if you can get
Yeah.
to know some people there and then find them, right? Like that's my strategy. Like at GurCon this last time we went up there, I went up with Tom and one of your guys, Eric,
Yep.
and I hung out with them most of the time, right? Because I knew them. When I went last time, so last year up to GurCon, same thing. I found a couple people I knew from Code
Right.
Mash, and those are the people that I hung out with. That without that, I go back to my room. I just go to bed because every night there comes a choice where it's like I'm gonna have to go down and socialize with people,
Right.
which I may or may not know, or I can go to bed. And I will admit that sometimes alcohol fuels that choice a little bit, right? It's like, I'm going to go have a couple of beers and then I will be a little bit less
Yeah.
introverted. But I mean, that's not the only way to navigate that.
Well, it's I think for anybody out there that's thinking about a conference to go to, knowing who's speaking is important because you got to kind of like the people that are speaking and some vendors I will and I'm not going to name them, but I know on one hand I can count 5 vendors that I would love to hear speak. When you talk about the vendors I've worked with, you've worked with, and these guys
Yep.
are highly technical people. I think at DattoCon I'm just going to mention Matt Lee. Great speaker. He may work for PAX 8, but when he talks, he's very technical, right? And
Yeah.
and you guys did a great talk, and you dragged Tom on stage. I remember that. That was kind of fun. Um, so, as an introvert, and I mean, people are probably shocked by hearing what you're saying because they see you talking with people. Um, what how did you break out of that besides just not going to your room? How did you first break out of it? You've gone to conferences for years. How'd you break out of your being an introvert?
uh, I got to know people online, right? Like in this community, in the MSP community, it was actually Ray Orsini. I had been talking, been hanging out in the MSP SRS Discord. This is back before I was really president of MSP Geek, and got to know Ray pretty well, talking to him. And
Hmm.
then we have a client down in Miami, so I was just down in Miami, and same thing would happen. We'd go visit the client. Nighttime would come. Sometimes you drive to South Beach and hang out. It
Hmm.
was like 40 minutes away, so it kind of got annoying. So at some point, I pinged Ray, knowing he lived in Miami and a couple others. I'm like, hey, you guys want to hang out? Like, you want to go to
Yeah.
like Dave and Buster's? There was only a couple of us, so we hung out and it was good. That fall, I went to IT Nation Connect for the first time, and who did I seek out? I sought out Ray, right?
Yeah.
And then Kyle Hansloven walks over and sits down with us, and there's some really good pictures from us from that first IT Nation Connect we were at. I think that Ray
Yeah.
and I together, I think we each had like 11 old fashions that night. It was
Oh
it
my.
was a pretty good time. But we I sat down, Ray sat down, we were talking. Hansloven comes over, he sits down with us. John Hammond wasn't with them then. The next thing more people that know Ray start showing up, and then you just start meeting new people, right? It's
Right.
so I think that's the way to start, is just to get to know a couple of people and find somebody, find yourself a social circle to fit into in whatever way you can, and then save up some energy if you're an introvert, right? Like, you are
Right.
going to be exhausted. If it's work to talk to new people, you are going to be exhausted. Expect it,
Yeah.
right? Like, expect to come home and sleep for like a day.
Yeah, absolutely. I know even as an extrovert though, and talking takes something out of you, but when it has to be forced or it's you're nervous about it, that does it. What so you're going to Write a Boom this week. You got MSP
Mhm.
Con. Where else are you gonna be at?
Let's see. Those are, I believe. Well, my next one is Right Aboon tomorrow. Then at the
Hmm.
beginning of March, is CompTIA CCF,
Yep.
which is, I think Tom's going to that one with
Yep.
me. I
You
think
guys
we're
are
going
both
to
going to
carpool.
that one.
But that one's not really open invite, right? You kind of have to be involved with CompTIA to go to that. I think the
Hmm.
one after that I'm going to, I may be MSP GeekCon, which is at the end of May.
Right.
We are kind of, there were those weird, like, beginning of the year conferences that I saw a number of, right? But then seems to kind of die off until like midsummer.
Yeah.
So I
Well, I
guess we'll
mean,
see.
it's that first quarter thing. A lot of the vendors want to
Yeah.
get out there and get their stuff out there in the first quarter, and then they kind of relax, and the summer comes
Yep.
along, and then everything hits. Um, it's funny. People watching now, I mean, now they have someone. If you're an introvert, Jason's at a lot of these, right? I've come to a few. You now have a friendly face to actually go up and say hi to, right? And find that person and find the people I like you said, join a community. I think the more people it doesn't take away from your business. I think it enhances your business and
Yep.
learning from other people and what they say. Conferences are a great thing but it's what you make out of it, right? I see guys that go to some of these conferences don't go to any of the speaking points. They're just there to socialize, and that's fine. That's what they
Mhm.
like to do. But I went to a conference in San Diego, which was not a fun. They didn't have any late night things going on or anything like that. It was about the CMMC stuff. And I'm going to tell you, when you're talking about government regulations, it's never fun. But I went there and got to meet a number of people that I'd not seen or ever met, and they're in a different kind of industry. That industry was interesting. It
Mhm.
more, they more I was more geared towards that because I'm an analytical thinker. I'm not highly
Mhm.
technical. And that's what that was. And it excited me to be a part of that. But I learned a ton. When I left, I was so tired. I mean, I get back on the plane. I've never slept on a plane. Never. I passed out on
I
the
sleep on
plane.
a plane all of the time.
I've flown to Europe several times, and I can't sleep. For
Oh,
some reason, I guess I can because I proved it coming back from San Diego. But um, conferences and introverts. I think they can go hand in hand, because I think as an introvert, you want to be, you want to see things. I think introverts are the best listeners
yep.
because they'll sit and
I,
listen
I
to things.
I agree with that. Yeah, and I mean, as you pointed out, like I'll be around, come say hi. I promise to be a little
Hmm.
bit socially awkward. I promise I probably won't remember your name. It's at some point or another, I am like face blind. I don't remember people's
Hmm.
names unless I've met you a ton. I just own it at this point. I'm like, yeah, I probably met you. I don't remember your name.
You call me John all the time, so I
Yeah,
don't.
I just call you. Yeah, I can't say on the air what I call you all the time.
Yeah, please don't do that. Um, what's the last thought from you?
Just go out there, do something. The value,
Mm.
right? I understand it's hard, but the value and the knowledge to be gained is huge. My last, I guess, tip would be go look at the speakers
Hmm.
and see if you can find some speaking that some of the speakers have done previously, because I will go watch a engaging speaker talk about something I'm only peripherally interested in
Hmm.
over a non-engaging speaker talking about something I care about every day of the week, right? So go
Right.
find speakers that resonate with you and go to their talks. You'll come out with something. And sometimes talks that are at the edge of your knowledge sphere, or you're like, I don't see how I could possibly use that, they're the ones you end up somehow taking the most out of,
That makes total
because
sense.
you're approaching them from a completely different mindset, right? So it's like I'm
Hmm.
watching a development talk. It's like, oh man, I could use some of that testing and some of the scripting that we're doing, stuff like that.
Yeah, oh, totally get it. Um, and you're speaking at a couple of these coming up, right?
Do I have? I don't.
Are you speaking at MSP GeekCon?
I am not. I did not submit any talks.
What?
I will likely submit a talk to
I'm
Secure Itation
heartbroken.
Secure. I was briefly on. I've backed out of it now just due to time, but I was on the planning committee for MSP GeekCon, and as such, because I was helping select talks, I didn't think it was
Hmm.
right if I submitted a talk.
Makes sense. That totally does. We're rambling on. Get out to conferences. Enjoy being alone, but enjoy learning and meeting new people. So that's all I
Yep,
can say.
that sounds great. I'll talk
Make
to
it
you
a
next
great
week.
week, guys. Bye.
See ya.